It is my humble and unbiased opinion that the greatest movies ever were all made in the 1980s, in that decade. And you can disagree with me, that is totally fine. You're entitled to your opinion, but I do encourage you to seek the Lord and ask Him to open your eyes. But there are some great movies that came out of the 80s. Some of the best ones were made by a filmmaker by the name of John Hughes, who made instant classics that we still know and love today. But he burst on the scene. He was very, very popular, and mostly for this incredible, extraordinary ability that he had to capture the teenage experience and the angst that came with it better than anybody else in history. He just got it. And he wasn't of the generation, but something about it, he just understood the human condition and was able to tell beautiful stories around that. And one of his best movies, one of my favorites, is the movie The Breakfast Club. And most of us have seen that movie. If you haven't, it's a pretty simple story. It's a group of high school students who are forced to share a Saturday together in detention. They have a common enemy who is the principal, the evil principal. And these kids all represent different walks of life, different backgrounds. They're kind of different stereotypes of kids in the 80s. You had your nerdy kid, you had your preppy girl, you had your jock, you had your weirdo and your bad boy, and they all are thrust into this library together, and they're forced to coexist. And obviously there's tension and there's a lot of conflict, hurtful, painful words are said because they all come from their point of view and they have preconceived notions of each other. And sometimes differences are hard to get past. But through it all, they start to find some common ground. They begin to bond, they dance together, they tell stories, they tell jokes. But ultimately, what really brings them together and creates true friendship among them is when they start to realize that each of them have their own heartbreak. They've all experienced pain and disappointment and trauma. There's a bonding there. And it's something that John Hughes captures beautifully. And truthfully, it's something quite spiritual, that we do truly bond and our relationships grow deeper through shared heartache, through the tough stuff. I read an article a couple years ago that said that the closest that two human beings can possibly get is through tragedy. And it is the closest relationship we'll ever find is when we face the impossible together. And so it takes some bravery, it takes courage, a willingness to be vulnerable, to open up and share not just about how great our kids are, but sometimes how hard it is to be a parent. And not just how perfect our job is, but how the impossible weight in trying to please our boss is sometimes crushing. And I think when we begin to relate in these real terms, where we actually open up and let people see the heartache and the pain and the difficulty, the struggle, the failures, not just the successes, but also the failures, not just the wins, but the losses. When we begin to share those things, we grow together. And it's a way that we actually can show it for each other and meet with each other and be present with each other through the tough stuff when we actually allow people to see that we're going through tough moments. So it's something that's quite necessary and something that's quite valuable. I know that we all want to put on a facade of success, but that really doesn't take us anywhere. It's really in our wins and our losses, even more so than our wins and our heartbreaks and failures, that we really begin to inspire and encourage each other the most. And so have a conversation about John Hughes movies. Google the John Hughes movies. Talk about your favorites. Home Alone, so good. Christmas Vacation, those are classics. Uncle Buck, come on, it's good stuff. But also talk about the importance and even the struggle and being vulnerable with other people, letting other people see you without your makeup on and when you're not all together. And so it's an important part of life. I love you. Have a great time talking about this tonight, and I'll see you soon.